and this is UC on Life Support. So far, the picture is clear. The University Hospital of the West Indies, a regional institution of immense historical and medical significance, is in crisis. Not because of a lack of funding, but because of a fundamental failure of governance, accountability, and leadership. Today, we talk about solutions, what must change, who must be held accountable, and what the future can look like if we have the courage to demand it. The people working inside the UHWI are not just complaining, they are proposing solutions. Resident doctors and consultants have outlined specific actionable reforms. With respect to staffing, they have asked for collaborative workforce planning between HR and departmental heads to determine realistic staffing requirements. On the topic of infrastructure, there is a need for urgent repair and reopening of the medical annex. Clear strategic decision-making regarding the UHWI service capacity amid financial constraints. Temporary ward-level use of stretcher spaces, again to decrease overcrowding in the emergency room. And of course, the staff need guaranteed access to essential supplies to prevent daily inefficiencies. Strategic financing solutions must be considered and include sponsorships and service fee reviews. With the immediate prioritization of critical items such as iodine, medical gases, and life-saving antibiotics. The University Hospital of the West Indies is an academic institution. The protection of scheduled academic time for residents and interns, which is currently being sacrificed to cover service gaps. Department-specific operational reforms, including the expansion to 5 or 6 general medicine teams, the establishment of new cardiology teams with alternating admissions and adequate subspecialty staffing to prevent the disruption of general medicine ward rounds. They state clearly a teaching hospital cannot function effectively without protecting its workforce, and that is what needs to be done. Another letter concludes, we look forward to leadership that demonstrates the same compassion towards staff that it expects staff to show to patients. What must systemic reform look like? Real reform cannot be cosmetic. It must address the root causes of the crisis. Transparent procurement. There must be full publication of procurement plans, needs lists, and awarded contracts, with clinician input built into the process from the beginning. All procurement documents must be available as public records, past and present. No more retrospective bidding, no more after-the-fact contracts, no more missing documentations for hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts. And of course, you must have independent financial oversight. Regular, on-time audited financial statements with clear reporting on revenue-generating services such as radiology and pharmacy retail. No more vague estimates, no more missing accounts. The public deserves to know how every single dollar is spent. We must have safe staffing levels, fill the vacant posts, protect the training time, and align staffing with patient volumes as doctors have repeatedly requested. No more operating with half the required interns. No more nurses being short on wards. No more telling Cuban and Chinese trained Jamaican doctors that there are no jobs while departments collapse from the weight of understaffing. We must have functional infrastructure, dedicated budgets and timelines to fix defective beds, reopen closed wards, and address the chronic supply shortages. No more excuse making, no more billion-dollar budgets with nothing to show on the wards. Above all, there must be respect for staff and accountability for the leadership. Robust grievance mechanisms, an end to the intimidation of staff, and clear, fair HR policies. When a senior clinician is accused of bullying and verbal abuse, that complaint must be investigated and resolved, not buried. When a minister presides over scandal after scandal, there must be consequences, and not just committee reports that are filed away and disappear over time. The role of the ministry, the parliament, and the public must be changed. This is bigger than UHWI's board at this point in time. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has a duty to ensure that public funds are used transparently and that performance audits lead to real change, not just placated press releases. Parliament must insist on timelines, measurable targets, and regular reporting on the implementation of the Auditor General's recommendations. The Integrity Commission must investigate the procurement failures at the University Hospital of the West Indies with pressure. And the Jamaican people must refuse to let this story fade. Because if we allow the powerful to wait out the news cycle, if we accept vague promises of procedural improvements without concrete actions, then nothing will change and this will be just another 9-day wonder. I have stated publicly, this is how our health system is driven into crisis, not by chance, but by poor governance and failed political oversight. I have called for independent oversight of UHWI operations and for those responsible to face consequences. The University Hospital of the West Indies is more than a hospital. It is a symbol of Caribbean aspiration, excellence, and self-determination. It represents the promise that our people can access world-class healthcare without leaving the region, that our doctors can be trained to the highest international standards right here at home, and that our medical research can contribute to global knowledge and the advancement of the whole human race. That promise is under threat, not from lack of funding, but from a failure of governance and leadership. If we lose the UHWI's accreditation, we lose the ability to train specialists for the entire English-speaking Caribbean. If we lose the trust of international partners, we lose research collaborations, training opportunities, and grants. If we lose the confidence of our own people, they will seek care elsewhere and the institution will wither. But if we act, if we demand transparency and accountability and reform, then this can be a turning point, not just for the UHWI, but for the entire health system. Over the preceding episodes, we have traced the history of the UHWI. We have documented the infrastructure and HR crisis. We have exposed the procurement failures, examined the leadership that enabled them, analyzed the Auditor General's findings, and we have outlined a path forward to the improvement of the university hospital. The evidence is overwhelming. The solutions are clear. What remains is political will. The University Hospital of the West Indies was built 73 years ago on the promise that the Caribbean could train and heal its own people. That is why I went to the University of the West Indies. That is what we worked for when I was working at the University Hospital of the West Indies. This promise is worth fighting for. It is time for every Jamaican, every Caribbean national, every person who has been treated at the UHWI, trained there, sent a loved one there, or been seen by a graduate of the university hospital. It is time to say enough with the missing contracts, enough with the bullying and intimidation, enough with the billions spent and the wards still crumbling, enough with the excuses. We deserve better. Our healthcare workers deserve better. Our patients deserve better. The University Hospital of the West Indies deserves better. I am Dr. Alfred Dawes.